Take a young family with an Irish background, a great home, and swap it out for the roads of Australia and this Winnebago. Meet Pam, a leading sales executive with an idea.
Kind of just had it as a dream, and we brought this into our lives.
And hubby Kevin, a 3,000 ideas a minute school teacher. And their 4-year-old son Henry and 5-year-old daughter Millie. They want to drop their current lifestyle for an Australian adventure. Join the family on their journey, somewhere out there. In this episode of Somewhere Out There, the family visit a boutique winery, go fishing on the Great Lakes, check out the holiday coast in New South Wales, and have dinner by a campfire in Crowdy Head. A week later, we catch up with the family at the start of New South Wales's Great Lakes Way, on Seal Rocks Beach, just near... actually isn't near anything. As the pelicans stalk the local fishermen, the family have some fun in the sand. We sit down with the family. What's been going on the road while we've been away from you?
Left Sydney, went to stay with Britt and Fardin. So he's a tree surgeon and she is a Steiner teacher.
Right, okay.
And they live near Wollumbai on the road to the Hunter, and they have a house that's built of straw.
And mud.
And mud. So we were expecting a shack. This house is phenomenal.
Yeah?
Like it should be in architectural magazines. Absolutely out of this world.
And you But they had hens running around, and we parked in this massive pile of mud. So we had fun trying to keep the motorhome free of mud in the inside.
Kids had a great squelch around in the mud, didn't you?
The kids were so happy with their wellies. The first day, that's all they want to do is jump in the mud. Squelch in the mud.
So they have a whole lot of, they have chickens and they have llamas. So they had a black llama and a white llama and a little brown baby llama.
And they added a camel.
And a camel called Barney and a horse called Carice. Isn't that right? So we fed all the animals.
So that was the first day of our adventures. Then we stocked up on fresh vegetables on one of those roadside stalls, and then we headed out to free camp for the first 2 nights in a place called Broke.
We drove up through horse country.
Fabulous.
Stunning.
Oh, beautiful, just off the highway. And when we decided we were going there, we were going. And then we spent one night there.
Yeah.
But we met this great character, and he had his own adapted motorhome, because he didn't have the use of his legs. And we met him on, he was just hilariously funny. And so we hung out with him that night. We invited him for a barbecue. He was our first guest. We got the barbecue out for the first time and had a few little chops and sausages and stuff. So yeah, it's all been going great. It's really been going fun. It's so chilled out and so much beautiful scenery, and we're just pottering on little small country lanes.
That's probably why after 8 days we're only 200 kilometres north of Sydney.
Yeah, you haven't gone far, have you?
Far. I wonder will we cross the border at all in the 9 months?
I'm really surprised how much we are enjoying this motorhome, because never having done it before, it's just so us. We've always liked pottering, but here's a way of doing it because we're bringing our home with us. We don't have to spend, come 2 o'clock, which has always been the problem before, looking for accommodation. We just have our accommodation.
So it's different from holidaying. Yeah?
Oh, definitely. The thing about a holiday, I guess, is there's a start time and an end time, whereas this doesn't feel like that. Kids are fantastic. Millie only said today, so we're on day 8, and Millie only said today, Mommy, I miss my couch at home and ABC Kids.
Oh.
And it's the first time she said it. They have just been fantastic. They've really settled into it, and they've done so many things in this week that they would never get to do back in Sydney. They've, ridden a horse, they've patted a camel. It's only the first week. I can't imagine, the things they are going to experience.
We've been, recording lots of practical stuff we've been doing, like we've done some baking, and that was good with them.
In their normal routine day, they're going to school, they're coming home, they're rushing off to see the TV, they're eating, so you don't get a lot of chat from them.
Yeah, I suppose what's missing is the not now, darling, later.
Exactly,
yeah,
you're not
which
doing
is
the
real
hang on, I'm
tense,
trying to
isn't it?
cook you dinner,
Yeah.
or you're shouting them
Yeah.
down. A couple of times Millie has started to say something, and I've said to her, go on, and the most amazing things have come out. She said something the other day, my heart feels so happy, or something, and I just thought, wow, if I hadn't have stopped and let her finish her sentence, I wouldn't have got that moment from her.
So what a difference a week makes.
Oh, I know. I don't know how we're going to go back to our life. I mean, I'm sure by the end of 9 months we'll probably be looking forward to a bit of routine. But right now it's all laying out there ahead of us.
Maybe there is something else out there, Maybe we weren't as happy as we thought we were. And maybe this is the time to see if there's something out there for us.
Steve and Rob have shared a passion for wine since they first met. Steve has worked in the industry since his early 20s, but the Great Lakes Winery is the first personally owned vineyard and winery for both of them. And both really enjoy greeting people at the cellar door. It seems that the family are a bit delayed on their way to the winery.
We better have a hug for catching. We're making up for the stress, the tantrums. The iPhone nearly went out the window. G'day, guys. Sorry, Kevin. How you doing? Nice to meet you, Robin. Where are you in Sydney?
Around Seaforth and Manly.
That's where we are.
Seaforth.
Whereabouts?
Constantly Parade.
What number?
68.
Did you buy our house?
No, we didn't. Wait.
You want to do white and red or?
I might do every second one, and Pat could do every one. Okay, sure.
The winery seems to breathe its boutique, laid-back style into all its varieties, from Semillon, Chardonnay, and its Shiraz and various reds. Some local cheeses from the area helps the wine go down. Steve takes them out to see the cattle on the property, and the family get to give country life a bit of a go.
Woohoo! We are such city slickers in the country. Woo! Do you want to come out, guys?
Stay in there.
Most of the cattle are Black Angus and raised for beef. Steve tells of the problems with wild dogs killing cattle in the area.
Dingoes are not that type of killer.
Ah, okay.
Dingoes are an opportunist. Wild dogs kill for the fun of it.
Wow. So what do they look like? Are they like kelp?
They look like a dingo, but
Okay.
a bit of a kelpie style.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so they're not your Labrador, but they could be your Alsatian.
Could be anything. Alsatian.
Wow.
I've trapped and shot 26. You know that it's a dingo because a dingo won't look at you. A
It won't
wild
look at
dog, a wild dog will bark and carry on and want to away. So what I also maintain is that we're losing our wild dog, which is a true dingo.
Right.
True dingoes are they're a bit of a loner. You don't see packs of them.
Oh, they're breaking the bikes. Tell them to stop. They're breaking the bike.
With Steve and Rob happy that their fence is in one piece, they say goodbye. In a camping ground surrounded by thick plant life, Pam and the kids discovered that if you follow the right track, you'll find the Green Cathedral nestled on the edge of Wallace Lake at Tonia Pacific Palms. Not just a folly, the locals really do use it for christenings, weddings and goodbyes. At the end of the Lakes Way, the family drive into Forster, New South Wales. At first sight, your average built-up seaside town. To be honest, you could easily drive right through it. But if you take the time, you'll discover Wharf Street with its restaurants and shopping, and Forster's numerous beaches. But the most striking feature is Lake Wallace, nestled behind the town.
My business is an estuary charter, so it's a fishing charter business on the Wallace Lakes, which is sheltered water, so it's all calm and quiet water. Primarily I focus on family fishing trips. The magic of the whole Great Lakes area, it's all based around the water. The Wallace Lake, in which we've been fishing on here today, that's a waterway that's 58 square kilometres in its water surface area, 5 times bigger than Sydney Harbour. It's pretty hard not to find something to enjoy out on a waterway such as that.
Hi! We're gone fishing!
We left here and we went up to an area behind Wallace Island where we actually got out and we pumped some pink saltwater nippers, or yabbies, which we used for bait. So we actually got out of the boat and pumped the nippers, and the kids seemed to really enjoy that. And then from there, we had some crab traps set up into an area on the Kalungaluk River.
The mud crabs, and we would never have had that experience if we'd stayed at home. Just pulling up the cage and the mud crab just being in there, and the kids were just like, this is amazing, you know?
Oh wow, way! Wow! Look at that fella. He's not scary.
If I put my finger in there,
Yeah, take it off.
are you kidding?
No, not at all. It'll take it off. Good.
With Tony, it was fantastic.
Then we come back down into the main basin where we had a fish with the nippers that were pumped and some prawns that we had for bait.
Let's do a little flick. Oh,
Oh, go on! I'm only joking. Have you got something?
I do.
Dad's got a catch.
There. If Tony would...
Come on, Dad.
Okay, who's going to pull this one in?
Come on, pull him in.
Would you like to pull it? You're going to help Dad. Dad needs to help Dad.
Oh, wow.
So what we're going to do is we're going to lift him up. Okay.
Take him off.
We got him.
Long enough the size of it.
He needs to be 27 centimetres
Okay.
long, so I don't think he's going to quite make it. Got him?
Kevin,
Good,
not a Frenchie. Not a Frenchie.
And the kids got to have a drive of the boat, and they seem to really enjoy that. Smiles all over the place.
Thank you, Dad.
Wow. Will I get one for the...
Millie takes the helm, and to be frank, Henry drives like a madman.
Being out in the water just calms your soul, you know, it was really beautiful. We're amazed that this is only 4 hours from Sydney and we've never even bothered venturing up here before.
This is a female one. It's really cranky.
And then it's back on the road to find a place to camp. Somewhere a little different this time. We all know that driving with kids can be challenging, but Pam keeps Millie and Henry distracted for the most part.
Turn the top one over.
No, honey.
There you go. Hey. Look, Nicky. How many people can fit in the bed up there?
4.
Is it a bit more squishy than our bed at Huntley Parade? Which is a bigger bed?
Mom, can you put bananas in the
Which is a bigger bed?
Can you put bananas
Or back home in our normal house?
Watermelon. I love watermelon.
But I understood my limit was 100 kilometers an hour, but it couldn't be because the trucks are going over 100.
After travelling for a while, they stop off at Harrington, a sleepy, beautiful beach community on the Harrington River entrance. Once called the Holiday Coast, due to modern freeways, it's within easy reach of Newcastle and Sydney. Young family sea changers live alongside retirees, though sometimes one wonders about the Anglo-Irish idea of heaven being a bowling club. Pam talks to Gary, a leading member of the local Chamber of Commerce, about the town's history and features.
So tell us a little bit about the bowling carnival. We saw about 100 plus ladies at the front bowling.
You've arrived on the first day of what's known as the Spring Carnival, which is a very popular event. And people come from all up and down the coast and from inland to be here every year. Harrington was discovered in 1818 by John Oxley, who was part of the first fleet group that came to Australia, which, as you would know, had a lot of Irish convicts aboard at the time. Later on, there were people who then came from Sydney who colonised. It then became a shipbuilding and repair centre as shipbuilding grew because the ships had plied the coast. Unfortunately, there was 50 shipwrecks at the bar. Some of them before the wall was built and some after, because there used to be sailing ships coming here before the steamers were coming in. But what we've got is some recognition here of some of the important people in Harrington. And they're put here by the Lions Club, and every year we have awards at Australia Day so that the local people are recognised for some of those outstanding deeds.
From Pilot Hill, we can see Harrington's shining geographical situation. I wonder, should it become a new sophisticated Riviera, or should it be left to sleep? It's time to pick up some dinner, and what other place than Crowdy Head Fisher Co-op.
We were going to have a barbecue down the beach tonight, and I'm told this is a place here to buy fish.
It's all locally caught, yeah?
We're a little bit limited in what we're going to be doing because we're in a motorhome. We don't want anything too complicated. Something that we can do to barbecue, just, you know, we've got plenty of lemons actually, because the last place they gave us a whole bag of lemons.
If you want to do a whole snapper, you can cook the snapper whole, like you say, wrapped in foil or something like that on the barbecue. That's quite popular. I can clean it for you, take the guts and everything out of it, and yeah, whether you like to look with the head on or not, it's up to you. Some people like the head off,
So I might go for the biggest snapper there that you have. You just clean it, leave the head on. I think it's prettier with the head on. We've had this discussion before.
Kevin's fish is prepared on the spot. There are people from all walks of life living in Crowley Head, but it's a bit, well, posher than its near neighbour Harrington. Its little harbour and stunning views and controlled building restrictions provide an almost Mediterranean setting for its musicians.
Fish up there is to do a couple of incisions here so it cook a little bit more evenly in the fatter part of the fish. I would prefer to be using fresh herbs, but we do have fresh lemons from the winery that we visited yesterday, so I'm just gonna get a bit of a squeeze and chuck it in there. Just gonna rub that in, put in the inside too. Yeah, and I was also, that's what he said, but I also think just helped with the flavouring in there as well, you know, through the skin. Wrap it in a way that it keeps the juices in there as well, so we're set up. I was trying to grab them out of the bucket like this, but your man's claws, that both claws are free, and I was just, and it's getting closer to my hand. And I've heard those stories of people. I've seen a guy, I think this guy showed me down the fish market once, his thumb that was missing or something from a crab. So yeah, I'm a bit afraid of them.
Is that?
Yeah.
No, there's nothing under that one. No, that's...
And then the bonfire was fantastic, you know, we had all the marshmallows and everything you dream of as a kid. I guess the kids running around, and you know, it was just brilliant. And just felt so moved, you know, the campfire going and the music going and the drink flowing. It was just fabulous.
And so the family are trying to travel around the whole of Australia. But they haven't left New South Wales. They have discovered some hidden havens, and in this episode really bridge the gap between travelling and freedom, the natural life and the elements. Next week on Somewhere Out There, we'll really be getting under the skin of one of Australia's oldest settlements, Port Macquarie.